Hello, dear students. Yes, we would be seeing about the theories of punishment under penology today. And we know that in the examinations, invariably it is asked as to describe the various theories of punishment or how far reformatory theory satisfies the retribution aspect of the victim, or enumerate the theories of punishment, discuss the preventive and expiatory theory of punishment at length, etc., etc., etc. So hopefully in this video, you will have all the answers to the questions which may be put to you in the examination. I am Dr. Vibha Sharma, Associate Professor, Government Law College in Ajmer. So let's start with this fourth lecture of mine on theories of punishment. Now we know that crimes are committed everywhere in the world. So none of the philosophies of treatment or punishment can completely remove the crime from society. However, we also are aware that the object of criminal justice is to protect the society against criminals by punishing them under the existing penal laws. Thus, punishment is being used as a method of reducing the incidence of criminal behavior, either by deterring the potential offenders or by incapacitating and preventing them from repeating the offense, or by reforming them into law-abiding citizens. So we can say that it is this principle which underlies the doctrines concerning the desirability and objectives of punishment. So, to punish criminals is a recognized function of all civilized states for centuries. But with the changing patterns of modern societies, the approach of penologists towards punishment has also undergone a radical change. The penologists today are concerned with crucial problem as to the end of punishment and its place in penal policy. Now, if you remember the concept of punishment from the earlier video of mine, we are aware that punishment generally presupposes what is inflicted is an ill, that is, which is something unpleasant, that it is a sequel to some act which is disapproved by the authority, and there is some correspondence between the punishment and the act which has evoked it. Punishment is inflicted, that is, it is imposed by someone's voluntary act, and also that punishment is inflicted upon the criminal or upon someone who is supposed to be answerable for him and for his wrongdoings. So though opinions have always differed as regards punishment of offenders, varying from age-old traditionalism to recent modernism, broadly speaking, there are certain types of theories of punishments. So let's take them one by one. They are deterrent theory, retributive theory, preventive theory, and reformative theory. Generally, the jurists have categorized them in two broad categories. One is retributive and another is utilitarian. But we would go through the theories of punishment as such one by one, starting from deterrent right up to the reformative, which is the latest model. Okay, so let's begin with the deterrent theory. So earlier modes of punishment were by and large deterrent in nature. Now this kind of punishment presupposes infliction of severe penalties on offenders with a view to deterring them from committing crime. Now let's see, what does this term deterrent actually mean? So deterrent or deterrence means something that deters somebody from taking action, or restrain anyone from taking action, or to discourage somebody from taking action, or prevent something happening, especially by making people feel afraid or anxious. So the deterrent theory seeks to create some kind of fear in the mind of others by providing adequate penalty and exemplary punishment to offenders, which keeps them away from criminality. In earlier times, crime actually was attributed to the influence of evil spirit or free will of the offender. So therefore, the society preferred severe and deterrent punishment for the offender for his act of voluntary perversity, which was believed to be a challenge to God or religion. So certain kind of fear was also created in the minds of the others. So in a way, it was thought that it is actually the means of attaining social security, because in earlier times, this deterrent theory of punishment was also known as utilitarian preventive theory. As we are aware that utilitarianism assesses punishments on the basis of the good that punishments do for individuals or for society. So therefore, deterrence is undoubtedly one of the effective policies, we can say, which almost every penal system accepts, despite the fact that it invariably fails in its practical application. Yes, deterrence as a measure of punishment particularly fails in the cases of hardened criminals because the severity of punishment hardly has any effect on them. We also find certain illustrations that when capital punishment was being publicly awarded by hanging the person to death in public places, many persons committed crimes of pickpocketing, theft, assault, or even murder in those men-packed gatherings despite the ghastly scene. So we are aware that the punishment which actually was to deter people has not helped much, but the societies continue to have it in a form of a policy within their criminal justice system, because in certain cases it definitely helps to prevent people from committing the crimes. So as considered by some of the penologists, retribution is probably the oldest goal of criminal punishment. The Babylonian Code of Hammurabi contained this principle of equal retaliation. According to them, the laws of ancient Hebrews also demanded an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And therefore they say that it is the oldest goal of criminal punishment. Now, while deterrent theory considered punishment as a means of attaining social security, the retributive theory treated it as an end in itself. Now, it was essentially based on retributive justice, which suggests that evil should be returned for evil without any regard to consequences. So as we know that retribution actually means something done or given to somebody as punishment or vengeance for something he or she has done. And therefore, we very well can figure it out that retributive theory is based on the idea of vengeance or revenge. That is tit for tat, as already seen in the Hebrews case, that it was demanded as an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Right? Now here it is to be noted that this theory actually considers punishment as a just retribution for the crime of the offender. So this theory says to return the same injury to the wrongdoer which he or she had committed against the victim. In fact, it also says that the pain which is to be inflicted on the offender by way of punishment, is to outweigh the pleasure derived by him from the crime. Now, here it must be stated that the theory actually has its origin in the crude animal instinct of individual or group to retaliate when hurt, and therefore most penologists refuse to subscribe to the contention that offenders should be punished with a view to making them pay for their dues. They generally hold the idea that no sooner an offender completes his term of sentence, he or she thinks that his guilt is washed off and he is free to indulge in criminality again. And thus, they have condemned this vindictive approach to the offender. Now, modern penology generally discards retribution in the sense of vengeance, but definitely in the sense of reprobation, it is said that it must always be an essential element in any form of punishment. Now, moving on to the preventive theory. Now, coming to the preventive theory, the preventive philosophy of punishment is actually based on the proposition not to avenge crime, but to prevent it. So, this theory actually believes that the goal of punishment is restraint. The term preventive means to stop something from happening or to stop people from doing a particular thing. So, under this theory, the offender is punished primarily to prevent the future crime in the society by isolating the criminals from society. So, according to this theory, a criminal, if he or she is confined, executed, or otherwise incapacitated, such punishment will deny the criminal ability or opportunity to commit further crimes and prevent the society from that harm. And therefore, under this theory, it is actually considered that in punishing a criminal, the community protects itself against antisocial acts which endanger social order in general or person or property of its members. So therefore, the proponents of this theory actually support this theory because they recognize imprisonment as the best mode of punishment, because according to them, it serves as an effective deterrent and a useful preventive measure too. As an offshoot of preventive view regarding crime and criminals, the development of prison institution also gained momentum. Please remember that the preventive theory of punishment is also called behavioral preventive theory or restraint theory. So as we are aware that with the passage of time, developments in the field of criminal science brought about a radical change in criminological thinking, and that there was a fresh approach to the problem of crime and criminals, and individualized treatment actually became the cardinal principle for reformation of offenders. Now, this particular view actually found expression in the form of reformative theory of punishment. So we are aware that reformation is synonymous to the words improvement, modification, transformation, alteration, development, etc. And reform means change and also to remove inconsistency. So we can actually say that reformation is the act or process of reforming somebody, especially with a view to have a general improvement in his or her behavior. Now, this theory actually claims that a criminal can be reformed into a good citizen as law-abider by giving him competent treatment during his or her imprisonment period. And it actually, the proponents of this theory believe that the offender is actually in the need of a doctor come guide and not of the jailer. So it is to be noted that as against deterrent, retributive and preventive justice, the reformative approach to punishment seeks to bring about a change in the attitude of offender so as to rehabilitate him as a law-abiding member of the society, and thus punishment is used as a measure to reclaim the offender and not to torture or harass him. So reformative theory actually condemns all kinds of corporal punishments, and the major emphasis actually remains on the rehabilitation of inmates in penal-correctional institutions so that they are actually transformed into good citizens. Now, under this theory, the believers say that these correctional institutions can have either maximum or minimum security arrangements, and they advocate human treatment of inmates inside the prison institutions, and also suggest that prisoners should be properly trained to adjust themselves to free life in society after their release from the institution. So actually, this reformative view of penology suggests that punishment is only justifiable if it looks to the future and not to the past. They say that it should not be regarded as setting an old account. I repeat, they say that it should not be regarded as settling an old account, but rather as opening a new one. So surely the supporters of this view justify prisonization not solely for the purpose of isolating criminals and eliminating them from society, but to bring about a change in their mental outlook. And how it is to be done? They say that it is to be done through effective measures of reformation during the term of their sentence. So undoubtedly, modern penologists reaffirm their faith in reformative justice, but of course, they also strongly feel that it should not be stretched too far. They say that reformative methods have proved useful in cases of juvenile delinquents and the first offenders, but of course, it fails in the cases of recidivists and hardened criminals. However, because under this theory, it is considered that the inmates should be properly trained while they are in their confinement, they are serving their sentences, that they should be properly trained to adjust themselves to free life in society after their release from the institution. And thus, the agencies such as parole and probation actually are recommended by them as the best measures to reclaim offenders to society as reformed persons. So, of course, after going through all these theories, we come to a particular conclusion, and that is that punishment actually should not be regarded as an end in itself, but only as a means. And definitely, we will ask then what the end would be. So, the end being the social security and rehabilitation of the offender in the society. So I really hope that through this video you have been able to understand the various theories of punishment and what they actually aim to do. One point is always to be remembered that in fact we find the reflection of all these theories in one way or the other in the punishments that we still very much have in our societies. So yes, all the very best for your examinations, and just keep on studying and keep on taking care of